Now let's begin to build the lower leg of our character. So let's kind of do something similar here with the lower leg. Let's grab some of these pieces that we can use. So I'm going to grab the elbow joint, the sphere in here, if I can grab it. Let's hit Control D to duplicate, Shift P to pull it out of any hierarchy. And I'm just going to pull it down and kind of rotate it into position here. So kind of move it up into that socket. Needs to be moved a little bit. Let's scale it if needed. We can look at our kind of artwork to see how that's rotated. And we'll rotate it a little bit out in the X. And that line will kind of give us a guide of the how we want the orientation of our leg to be. Now for the lower leg itself, let's just grab this piece. We will duplicate it, drop it out of any hierarchy, and let's modify this a little bit. So we can start by just kind of rotating it roughly into position. But let's go in and modify the bottom part of it. So we don't need all of this detail underneath, and so we can select all of that and delete it. Now that we have this separated, we can just double click on this shell on the faces and we can delete those. Let's do the same thing here on this little edge. All right. Now I want to rotate this leg out a little bit, and I also want to shape it a bit so we can see the size that it needs to be. So maybe something like that. And I also want to rotate it so that there's a face right at the front of it. So maybe kind of put this in a rough position here. Let's kind of rotate it back this way. All right, and I'm just going to rotate this slightly in this axis so that I'm kind of looking at this face right here. I want that to kind of match up with that front. So this face, there's a row of faces right here. I don't want it to be too far off. So I know Delano's probably going to want it to be fairly straight. So something like that. Now we have a little bit of shape added to this leg, so let's come to the side here. Let's grab these edges, and I'm just going to pull these back a little bit and create kind of a little bit of a bowed shape for the leg. And we can come to the front and just tweak that shape a little bit more, so kind of pulling over in this axis. Same thing right here. So we kind of end up with something like that. Now we need an area for the toes. So let's grab everything. Let's grab all these faces at the bottom. And we don't want the ones on the inside. So I'll just double click on that. And then we want everything, we don't want any of these ones on the front. So 3 on the front, 3 on the back. So just the ones on the side. And now let's extrude those down. Okay, we can change our axis and sort of scale those out a little bit. That gives us an area to put the feet. We can also kind of rotate it to flatten it out a little bit, but we'll give ourselves a little bit more room there. In keeping with the rest of the shape. Now to create the sort of raised area, let's go ahead and take this and we'll extrude this out. You can see I hit the wrong extrude. Be careful of that. There's a vertex, edge, and face extrude. We want to use the face extrude. So we'll kind of pull this out. Let's take the bottom points And I just want to kind of pull those out a little bit. And then the ones on the top as well. But I want this to kind of blend back into the leg. So in the center, I'm going to use the Merge Vertex tool to merge those points back together. Okay. And we can come down here and kind of do the same thing. We can kind of smooth it out to see what that looks like. Now we're going to have to add a little bit of sharpness to this, so let's use our Insert Edge Loop tool. As we come up here, add some sharpness to that. Do the same thing down here. Let me undo that. We'll add it first right here. You can see because this is a triangle, it's stopping right there. So this is a good place to use our multi-cut tool, which we can access right here, or we can come in and shift right click, multi-cut tool, or we can access it from the modeling toolkit. And we can come across here and add a line right in there. Let's use our Insert Edge Loop tool down at the bottom here. And then let's see what this looks like when we smooth it. So we get something like that. So it's got a hard surface look, but it has a little bit of interesting detail to it, something a little bit different. And then you can kind of make sure that this top part fits onto the joint. You can move it and the joint as well. Kind of move it back a little. All right, so something like that. The next thing we want to do is we want to add a foot. And so let's go ahead and add that foot, and then we'll also add kind of a shade up at the top in the next lesson.